and welcome to the Culture Ward, where we dissect and dismantle pop culture in all its forms. So, a few years ago, author JK Rowling was pulled headfirst into the debate about gender identity and biological sex, and she was viciously attacked by a certain group of activists, including Emma Watson, who played Hermione in the Harry Potter movies. After years of animosity, Emma Watson seemed to offer a kind of apology in a recent interview, but in addition to being attacked herself by the same certain group of activists for daring to offer an olive branch to the enemy, JK Rowling also responded rather savagely, clearly not accepting Emma's apology. Was she right, or did she go too far? Well, let's talk about it. Before we begin, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and help us grow the channel. As always, it really means a lot to us. And don't forget to like and share the video if you enjoy the content. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So in case you've been asleep for the past 25 years or so, you've probably heard of Harry Potter. In 1997, a young, unknown, and poverty-stricken British author named JK Rowling managed to get a young adult book published called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And it was basically an overnight success. It led to 6 more books in the series over the next decade, and eventually became the best-selling book series in history, with more than 600 million units sold, and counting. The books were adapted into a series of films, with the first appearing in 2001, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and ending in 2011 with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And likewise, the movies were a huge success, currently standing as the 4th highest grossing movie franchise of all time, raking in almost $8 billion, and counting. The Harry Potter series, set in the Wizarding World, follows a group of children, beginning at age 11 until they reach adulthood, which is 17 in the Wizarding World, as they attend a school of witchcraft and wizardry where they learn to wield and control magic. For the films, they naturally had to recruit a bunch of child actors to play these magical children. And there are dozens of child actors in these movies, but the 3 primary characters are the trio of Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger, played by Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, respectively. All 3 of these actors were young children when they were first cast in these now iconic roles, and, accordingly, weren't exactly well known at the time. In fact, I think they were all between the ages of 10 and 12 at first casting, and had little, if any, professional acting experience. And it wasn't hard to tell. In the first couple of films, at least, most of the child actors were pretty green. Hell, some of them never really caught on to the whole acting thing. But despite their inexperience and modest talent, these movies made them instantly recognizable stars. By the time the series came to an end, all 3 of the leads were wealthy and famous, and would, at least for a few years, be in demand in the film industry. Emma Watson, in particular, enjoyed significant post-Harry Potter success, landing roles in the live-action adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, as well as several other rewarding projects. And she owed it all to the Harry Potter series and its creator, JK Rowling. And that's the important bit. She owed everything to JK Rowling. It's not like Rowling was some invisible force that wrote the stories and then vanished, known only by her name being a byline on the front page of the script. Rowling helped produce the films and was intimately involved with them, helping to hand-pick the cast, particularly Emma Watson, and she had a close and personal relationship with the actors for many years. Remember that, it's important later. Well, in 2020, I know that seems like ancient history, but it was only 5 years ago, Rowling waded into a certain battle that had been waging in the culture wars concerning gender ideology and biological sex. Rowling made some comments in support of Maya Forstater, a woman who'd lost her job for tweets that were deemed, quote, phobic. Basically, Forstater believed that sex, male and female, was determined by biology. And that apparently was such an appalling belief that a certain community thought she deserved to have her livelihood stripped away. Well, JK Rowling publicly disagreed with that sentiment, choosing to defend and support Forstater. That, in turn, led to additional statements and activism in support of women's rights, such as objecting to, let's call them transfigured individuals, invading sex-based spaces, such as changing rooms and women's athletics divisions, as well as opposition to so-called gender-affirming care on children. Well, immediately and ferociously, Rowling was attacked and threatened, bullied and maligned, and forever labeled a TERF, by media personalities, Hollywood celebrities, and slavering masses on social media. And in the midst of the onslaught, numerous former cast members of the Harry Potter movies, particularly including Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, also joined the fight, pledging their support for the transfiguration community. You know, those people that believe biological sex is nothing more than mythology created by bigots, and against JK Rowling. And this obviously stung. I mean, not only did Rowling make them rich and famous, she knew them, cared for them, watched them grow up, and always supported them. Well, over the intervening years, things didn't get any better. Rowling has continued to vocally support women's rights against encroachment by gender activists, and the transfiguration community has continued to attack her relentlessly. Well, last week, Emma Watson, now 36 years old, sat down for an interview on the Jake Shetty podcast, whoever that is. At one point, the controversy surrounding her falling out with Rowling came up. Let's take a listen.
I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Jo and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never cancel her out or cancel that out. And this is where this holding of these, I just don't know what else to do other than hold these two seemingly incompatible things together at the same time, but that they can both still be true.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Now, before we get into JK's response, it is interesting to see the reaction by the transfiguration community. Apparently, the people that Emma Watson burned her relationship with JK Rowling for were perhaps a little unhappy with her lukewarm concessions. Transfiguration is, it seems, a zero-tolerance worldview. Anyway, in addition to Emma Watson getting attacked by her own allies, JK Rowling also wasn't quite ready to forgive and forget, it seems. Alright, so I'm actually going to read this article from Vanity Fair, even though this author, Blanche Marcel, isn't exactly unbiased. You'll see what I mean here in a moment. So JK Rowling thinks Emma Watson is, quote, ignorant of how ignorant she is. After Watson said kind words about Rowling on a podcast, the Harry Potter scribe disparaged Watson, claiming the actor sent her a private note of sympathy when Rowling was facing public wrath over her transphobic views. So already you see, she's not exactly coming at this with an even hand. So JK Rowling is apparently not interested in accepting the olive branch that Emma Watson extended her way. In a lengthy X post, the Harry Potter scribe dragged the actor who played book-smart Hermione Granger in the original Harry Potter franchise, sharing a meme video making fun of the actor and writing that Watson, quote, has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. Watson appeared in all 8 film adaptations of Rowling's Harry Potter novels released between 2001 and 2011. She and Rowling have been on shaky ground since around 2020 when Rowling began dedicating her public persona to spreading transphobic rhetoric and gender essentialism. I guess that's one way of saying she supports women's rights. Anyway, at the time, Watson publicly opposed Rowling and released a joint statement with her longtime co-star Daniel Radcliffe. Quote, trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. It's profound. Many figures linked to Harry Potter have followed their lead, publicly distancing themselves from the author. Watson addressed her rift with Rowling on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast, which featured Watson as a guest on September 24. On the podcast, Watson said that she can still have love for the author while not necessarily sharing her beliefs regarding the trans community. We watched that clip already. 2 days after the episode dropped, Rowling reposted a comedy video from satirist Intel Lady making fun of Watson's comments, calling out Watson for her, quote, seemingly incompatible view of disagreeing with Rowling while also still having love for her. Let's actually just take a look at the tweet here. Alright, so she said, I'm already missing Intel Lady's Angela Rayner, but I'm here for all the spoofs.
When it comes to my relationship with Jo, obviously, I will never forget the opportunity that she gave me. She saw something so special in me that she knew she had to bring me into her creative vision and make me part of that. And I will always hold space for her and so much love in my heart for her, and I would hope that she felt the same way about me. But also, I stand shoulder to shoulder with those who would wish harm on her, hate her, and would wish the absolute worst for her in her life. But those seemingly incompatible, those two things can exist at the same time, which is why I love this incredibly diverse world that we live in. It can be so visionary, it can be so artistic, it can have so much depth of love and anguish at the same time, and peace and war and time and space. But we can all come together and also seemingly push each other apart and distance ourselves expediently. But
that's a pretty funny little video. On September 29th, Rowling doubled down on disparaging Watson in a lengthy X-post airing out their dirty laundry. Now, I'm not going to read what this author wrote. We're just going to read straight from JK Rowling's X-post. So it's pretty long. We'll try to get through it quickly. Alright, so she wrote, I'm seeing quite a bit of comment about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with loss of work, or violence, or death because of them. However, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last few years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world I created. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. Until quite recently, I had managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film studio. For the past few years, I've repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the witch trials of JK Rowling. Ironically, I told the producers that I didn't want her to be hounded as the result of anything I said. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech, and in truth that was a turning point for me, but it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from her to me, which contained the single sentence, quote, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. She has my phone number. This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought a one-line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. Like other people who've never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's been in a high-street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed-sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool? Is she ever likely to need a state-run rape crisis center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service? To find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison? I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means to women and girls without her privileges. The greatest irony here is that, had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tack I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was, I might never have been this honest. Adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former friend's love, as though the friend was in fact their mother. Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public, but I have the same right, and I finally decided to exercise it. So that's what she actually said. Now, this author goes on to say, the wordy Rowling went on to make more personal digs at Watson while also furthering her anti-trans agenda. Quote, like other people who've never experienced adult life, yeah, we just read all that. So, While criticizing Watson for her fame, Rowling simultaneously took credit for the actor's success. Not exactly. The disgruntled author ended her tirade by once again blaming Watson, writing that she wouldn't have disparaged Watson had Watson not started it by appearing on Shetty's podcast. Alright, so that was it. Obviously, Blanche Marcel, the writer of that article, just had to take digs at JK Rowling after she took issue with just about every statement that she made. Anyway, one of my curses is the unwavering ability to see both sides of nearly every argument. I know it may come across as wishy-washy or chicken shit, but I do actually try to give people the benefit of the doubt whenever possible. Primarily because I hope people will give me the benefit of the doubt sometimes when I need it. Apropos that, I totally understand why JK Rowling doesn't want to forgive and forget. As she said, Emma joined in kicking her at a time when the rhetoric against her was at its most fierce and violent. At the same time though, I kind of think maybe she could have been a little more forgiving, if only for the reasons she herself stated. You know, that Emma has never known struggle or adversity or even mild discomfort in her entire pampered existence. She has been on Easy Street since at least the age of 11, and none of the problems that face everyday working-class women have ever been apparent to her. So her own naivety works to sort of insulate her from blame for failing to empathize with the plight of normal women. And additionally, Emma's apology wasn't without a price, as we saw. The community that she thought she was protecting turned on her in an instant. Now, I doubt Emma expected that to happen because, again, she lives inside a bubble within an echo chamber. But she knows now. And don't get me wrong, I don't think celebrities, media personalities, and wealthy elites deserve any grace or conciliation vis-a-vis us working folks. To the extent her allyship hurt regular people, fuck her. She deserves no forgiveness. But as it concerns other celebrities and wealthy elites, like JK Rowling, I think there could be a little more willingness to enter into a dialogue, maybe chart a path back for people who do want to change their minds, mend bridges, and try to get on the right side of history. I just think this reflexive clapback might be counterproductive to that end. That's all I'm saying. But to be honest, I really don't care what Emma Watson thinks about anything, and I care even less about her relationship with JK Rowling. I doubt whether or not JK Rowling accepts Emma's olive branch will have an iota of impact on the real world. They both live in a different place than the rest of us, and their squabbles amount to little more than clickbait. What is important is that at the end of the day, it's JK Rowling's decision alone whether to accept or reject anyone's apology, lame as that apology may be. And to the extent that JK Rowling continues to support and advocate for women's rights, I will continue to support JK Rowling and will continue not caring what happens to Emma Watson. So what do you think? Do you think JK Rowling should have accepted the olive branch offered by Emma Watson? Why or why not? Join the conversation in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Bye for now. We hope to see you next time in the Culture Ward.